Tzu Chi volunteers in Medan, Indonesia received a generous donation from Bank of Mustika. In Hong Kong, Tzu Chi volunteers help a mother and daughter to move to a more suitable living environment. Welcome to the Headlines. I'm Jenny Lee. Thank you for joining us. On the day of Eid al-Fitr, Tzu Chi Medan's office received 14,000 USD from Bank Mustika. With these funds, supplies such as rice, cooking oil, and sugar were bought and donated to Medan city government. It is hoped that these supplies will reach to those in need.
Donating over 14,000 USD, which is over 400,000 NTD, Bank Mustika's funds have assisted Tzu Chi in their operation to distribute supplies to impoverished citizens.
Nah, seperti yang kita tahu, Yayasan Buddha Tzu Chi adalah yayasan yang expert.
According to what we know, Tzu Chi is an NGO that does charity work all around the world. They also have contributed to our community in Medan. Therefore, we're happy to work with them. Though the funds are not that much, but I still hope that people in need can be assisted.
Yang kita berikan dapat diterima oleh masyarakat yang tepat.
I'm thankful for Bank Mustika for their second collaboration with us. With the funds, we're able to distribute supplies for more citizens in need.
Eid al-Fitr is similar to the known Chinese New Year. For 2 years, Indonesian citizens have celebrated Eid al-Fitr under harsh conditions, as many were lacking food. In order to help solve their issues, Tzu Chi Medan office has given out 10,000 supplies.
Hari ini kita bagi-bagi sembako kepada petugas kebersihan
The
kita.
distribution today mainly helps sanitation workers, public facility workers, police officers, and traffic police from 21 towns in our city. These people have little income, therefore, with the supplies distributed, they'll have a better time during Eid al-Fitr.
Salah satu bentuk apresiasi kita atas kerja keras, kerja baik selama ini.
These supplies given out during Eid al-Fitr includes 5 kilograms of rice, 2 liters of cooking oil, and 2 kilograms of sugar. Though the contents are kept simple, the supplies are enough to feed families desperate for food during the festival.
Eid al-Fitr is an important Islamic celebration that is the equivalent of Lunar New Year. 50 children from an orphanage in West Jakarta, Indonesia, cannot return home to celebrate with their relatives in the pandemic. Tzu Chi volunteers send supplies and love to these children in this festive season. Tzu Chi volunteers also went to Indonesia Tzu Chi ground to celebrate Eid al-Fitr with the staff there.
A truck of food and supplies, including rice, noodles, drinks, masks, and stationery, was delivered to Panti Adinda, an orphanage in West Jakarta, Indonesia. Children were looking forward to receiving it.
Sebentar lagi kita mau menyambut Hari Raya Idul Fitri, di mana
Taking into account the Eid al-Fitr is approaching, and these unfortunate children only have the care from the orphanage management staff instead of their parents, so he especially came to bring them the festive atmosphere.
pada mereka tentu ini bisa memberikan sedikit menambah kebahagiaan mereka dalam rangka menyambut hari raya nanti itu.
Terima kasih atas.
Thank you, Tzu Chi, for coming over to send us the supplies, which are very practical for our children. Especially when Eid al-Fitr is approaching, I hope they can spend a warm and happy holiday like ordinary children.
Seperti anak-anak yang lain.
For the sake of epidemic prevention, volunteers could not interact with children one by one, but this loving care is able to deliver to every child, warming their hearts. The loving care was also sent to Tzu Chi ground in Indonesia. Volunteers organized an event to celebrate Eid al-Fitr with the security guards, engineering and cleaning staff with anti-epidemic measures observed.
The event was excellent. I hope it can be held every year.
Semangat untuk berbagi, semangat untuk berbela rasa kepada semua teman.
Although we have different beliefs, we share our love and care with each other. Especially in Tzu Chi, we always uphold the spirit of great love.
Kita tentunya adalah berbagi dengan hati. Itu yang akan kita pegang selamanya.
Regardless of religion, everyone shares the joy of the festive season with tolerance, respect, and love.
13 years have passed since Sichuan earthquake struck parts of China. The disaster areas are thriving today. In Hanwang New City, every Wednesday, the residents would bring out recyclables that they have saved on purpose for Tzu Chi volunteers. They do so to reciprocate the assistance they once received.
Grandma Liu has been waiting for the weekly recycling day. Taking out recyclables, she's ready to help the needy.
After receiving help, I thought that I would no longer sell paper. I will donate it instead. After I collect the recyclables from them, I do not care about how much they are worth.
The recycling tricycle always passes by Grandma Yang Hongzhen's house. From the balcony to the kitchen, the place is filled with the recyclables she collected.
We need to make at least 3 trips to take the recyclables. To take the styrofoam, we sometimes need to make 4 trips.
They have all received help from Tzu Chi. In the aftermath of Sichuan earthquake, their homes were damaged, and city volunteers from Taiwan led them to clean up the environment. They now collect recyclables to help people. They've also been inspired. 80-year-old Grandma Yang Hongzhen starts to do recycling at 3 a.m.
It is fine. It is bright. Look, it is bright everywhere. The items are big, and I can see them clearly.
After binding the styrofoam and paper, she carries them home agilely. After returning home, she does not take a break. Instead, she organizes the recyclables. She has been doing this for 13 years.
In the prefabricated house, Tzu brothers and sisters cook food and distribute some items to everyone. They help seniors settle down. I do not have to think about anything, as long as I have enough to use and eat. I donate the rest of my money.
They have turned from receivers to givers, protecting the environment with their hands and efforts.
For 55 years, Tzu Chi's charitable works have taken domestically and internationally with a strong emphasis on mental support and respect, and not merely material and monetary aid. As of April this year, Tzu Chi has provided long-term care for over 24,000 clients in Taiwan. The clients include the elderly, the vulnerable, and students needing financial assistance. Let's learn more about how Tzu Chi cares for the whole person and the whole family.
This picture was taken 51 years ago during a winter distribution at the Jingse abode. Fan Jinxiang sees her mother and younger brother from the photo.
When I saw this photo, my tears kept flowing. These were tears of gratitude.
When she was a child, her family was quite poor. However, her mother seemed to have magic powers because there was no shortage of food and clothing for us.
When my mother went out and came back, she carried lots of bags in her hands. When I saw this picture, I suddenly realized that my mother came to Tzu Chi to collect these materials. Mother said the master was so compassionate and made a deep impression on her.
Fan Jinxiang would learn many years later that this compassionate Dharma master was Master Zheng Yan. Her disciples in Tzu Chi had been helping her family half a century ago. This is a photo taken by Tzu Chi volunteers of her mother and younger siblings after a home visit. The yellowed old photos are full of special memories.
I am very happy. Tzu volunteers put out a lot of clothes at the site and hand them out. There was a free clinic where volunteers helped inform us about it.
Fang Liying, who was only 9 years old at the time, was found to have a tumor in her abdomen at a free clinic. The master said she must be saved, and attending physician Wang Boshi fully assisted with the operation.
At that time, the tumor was very big. I am very grateful to Dr. Huang for the operation and the master.
Because my sister was rescued, I felt that if I have the opportunity and ability, I must give back to society.
Inspired by love, Fan Jinxiang, who studied hard, was able to retire from 32 years as a public servant. After she retired, she taught vocational schools in Hualien and realized her wish of giving back to the society.
I can feel the warmth as there are many people who care about me. There are so many good people in society.
It's no problem to support younger generation of impoverished students.
17 years ago, Miss Zhong's father died suddenly. Just when the family of 3 was most helpless, they were able to rely on one person. After graduating from Tzu Chi University of Science and Technology, Ms. Zhong had a stable job. She grew up under the care of volunteers and thought more about her life. Providing materials and financial assistance coupled with spiritual power is Tzu Chi's plan for providing a close network of care extending from the elderly to children.
个，啊，这2姐，这是我。他每个月都有给我们。
Tzu Chi volunteers give us cash every month and also give us rice and clothes.
When she was 8 years old, her father died in a car accident. Her mother was devoted to the care of Cho Bi-wan and her 2 sisters together. From elementary school to high school, the 3 sisters ate Tzu Chi rice and wore clothes sent by Tzu Chi.
Volunteers will come to our home in advance to measure our size, pack and fold the clothes and put it in a bag for us. They told us not to be worried about getting cold or have any clothes to wear. This made us feel quite fortunate.
This is the warm feeling of being cared for. So the volunteers really brought through the concept that only relatives or family can give assistance.
Care is not just about money. The uniforms sent to the impoverished students in the early days were the best quality Tetalan uniforms at the time.
At that time, the master had to measure their size and then have the uniforms tailor-made for them based on their measurements.
Many of these children from impoverished backgrounds now had a chance to turn their lives around. Today, Cho Bi-wan is married and has children. Not only does she have a happy family, she also wears a volunteer uniform and lives a devout life.
I sent the care recipient 2 anti-slip pads to prevent him from falling.
I had a stroke and my heartbeat is irregular. Tzu Chi volunteers come to care for me every month. When they come to me, I feel better after chatting with them. Otherwise, I can't bear to live alone.
Although he is ill, he will change his life as he has donated to the Bamboo Con Bank.
The master thinks deeper than us. She said that when we give to care recipients, we should be deeper than the surface things like money and supplies, as we should understand their physical and mental health.
With no children, Tzu Chi volunteers worked together to carry his coffin and organize a funeral for Mr. Wong, who lived alone. He was cremated and buried at sea according to his will.
We must look after the whole person, the whole family, the whole process of caring, from the beginning to the end, to show people we care about them so they can feel our love and enthusiasm.
From a safety net that protects life from beginning to end, Tzu Chi has become a large umbrella sheltering impoverished families. Last year alone, Tzu Chi mobilized more than 1.56 million volunteers to assist more than 1.02 million people. The process of giving and receiving, whether it is helping others or being helped, reflects the true meaning of life.
In Hong Kong, Zhang Rongjia and her daughter do not have Hong Kong identity cards. Tzu Chi volunteers help them to move to a better living environment. One of the volunteers is a carpenter who had also received help from Tzu Chi, and he made a movable desk for her daughter to do homework. Zhang Rongjia was so moved by volunteers' loving care that she vowed to go meatless.
To celebrate moving house, Tzu Chi volunteers brought with Chinese birthday buns and fruits to visit Tzu Chi care recipient Zhang Rongjia. They also brought her couplets of Jinxi aphorism.
I got to know Tzu Chi during the Mid-Autumn Festival last year and received their care package. After learning my situation, Tzu Chi volunteers helped me find a much better place to live.
Because of the surrounding environment of the house she stayed before was quite complicated, so we found a better residence for her. Today, we also invited Mr. Ma to help her install a movable desk in her new home.
Her husband was in Shenzhen and doesn't have much income. She usually lives by collecting cardboard paper. The new residence is only about 40 square meters, equipped with bathroom and kitchen, which is more comfortable than the place before. Volunteers also find someone to install a movable desk for her daughter. Buying materials, measuring heights, and hammering nails, Ma Jianhua did it all by himself. Because of his son's illness, he came to Hong Kong from China and spent all his savings. When he was hopeless, Tzu Chi appeared to help him. So when he has the ability now, he also wants to help the people in need.
Because I saw Tzu Chi help a lot of people, and I also received Tzu Chi's help before, so when I have time, like today, I also want to help those in need with my talents.
Her daughter finally got a desk to do homework. With so many people helping her, Jiang Rongjia wants to make a vow.
I'll go vegetarian this month. I want to try going meatless in this year.
I wish you adopting vegetarian diet continuously, eat more vegetarian food. Even your daughter is willing to go meatless together.
Volunteers from Tzu Chi Malaysia chapter have discovered that the number of cases involving cancer patients and patients with psychological disorders is on the rise. Hence, the volunteers took counseling courses to strengthen their ability in providing comfort and support. They're hoping to use psychology and religion to help patients embrace the meaning of life.
For the past year, people in Malaysia were heavily impacted by the pandemic, as most have to face all types of pressure, leading to a rise of psychological disorders. In order to further understand patients' needs, Tzu Chi volunteers from Malaysia chapter took psychology-related classes and studied Dharma on a daily basis.
We really need to learn about counseling and hospice care. We have hosted some lessons about care regularly. Some of our volunteers have already got certification. As of now, several volunteers are studying counseling.
Volunteers utilize psychology in order to understand a Tzu Chi care recipient further. A family tree is also utilized to close the bond between care recipients and their respective family members.
We study the patient, his thoughts, thinking mode, emotions, expectation, desires, and also their traumas during childhood life experiences. Then we take them to their family members in order to resolve the issues between them. And I hope after dealing with this, the patient may feel more at ease.
These groups of volunteers hope to serve more people in need, as they constantly remind themselves of their initial aspiration.
Every day when I go home, I must listen to Dharma teachings and to learn about how to purify our heart. Then when we visit patients, we won't bring our worries, stubbornness, and bias to them through interaction.
One day after I completed my afternoon prayers, a care recipient called me. She told me that her husband doesn't do household chores well. But I told her, you have to be thankful to your husband. Right after the call, I thought of my own situation. Since my husband is busy with work, yet he still helps me with some housework. Though I often complain about that, I never make grateful remarks to him. So after thinking about this, I talked to my husband and said sorry.
Volunteers have made further progress in their own lives through inspiration and interaction with care recipients. It is hoped that this positivity can be spread continuously to more people in need.
Elizabeth Shefflin is an American who went to China alone at the age of 22 to learn Eastern culture. She combines her expertise to create a wellness career that integrates both body and mind. In seeing the increase of hate crimes against Asian Americans, Elizabeth said that hatred comes from human fear. We need to open our minds and try to understand others. Elizabeth helped many people on her website to transform negative emotions during the pandemic, and the medicine she used is gratitude.
你好，我叫 Elizabeth，我在美国长大，但是我对多元文化很有兴趣。
Growing up in traditional white community, Elizabeth started learning Chinese and French at the age of 16. When she was in 12th grade, she visited China for the first time. She studied in Shanghai when she was in college and returned to Shanghai to start a business after graduation. She set up spiritual yoga classes and organic juice shops. Elizabeth found greater tolerance in Eastern culture.
I would say one thing that I really loved about living in China is that it seems like, at least a lot of the friends that I made and people I interacted with, it was such an open mind. People were really interested to get to know me, to understand where I was from. And sometimes I find that in the West, maybe it's more of a closed mind to other perspectives.
However, after pandemic outbreak, she was forced to abandon her 6-year business and return to the United States. But the atmosphere of the pandemic has caused racial issues to emerge. Elizabeth said that she never looked at people's external differences, but looked for everyone's common theme and characteristics.
So if you're curious about someone else, if you go in with a question instead of a statement, if you go in to meet someone with the intention of learning instead of telling, it's a totally different interaction. So I think everyone from all over the world, all ages, all backgrounds, we all have something to learn from each other.
Racial hatred is the fear of the humans may raise after the pandemic. Elizabeth began to share the power of the stability on the website. In fact, this power is actually the gratitude emphasized in the Eastern world. In the past 30 years, the West has also used science to confirm the gratefulness is highly related to health and happiness.
The practice of gratitude, it's kind of like putting on a pair of sunglasses. The color of the lens can affect everything that we see. So it's not only about being grateful for the good things, not only being grateful when it's a sunny day or when you get a promotion or when something good happens, but to be grateful for all things in life and to see all things in life as blessings and as lessons.
During the pandemic, Elizabeth republished her daily journal she practiced since she was a child. After being published on the internet, it helps readers to overcome the fear of the pandemic.
Every morning, there's a different question that you'll answer, like one thing that made me smile yesterday. And then every month, there's also a special monthly exercise. As well, every week, there's templates.
In real life, Elizabeth married with the one comes from different cultural backgrounds. The in-laws are from Taiwan's Tzu Chi family. The pandemic made the family who had never lived together stay together every day. The two, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, also had a close relationship because the daughter-in-law was in confinement after giving birth.
A quote that says, when a child is born, a mother is born. So this woman is like a newborn mom. She's like a baby mom, and she needs to be mothered. And so having my mother-in-law be there to mother me and take care of me, it was so healing on physical level, emotional level, spiritual level.
Everyone's living style is a bit different. But as the master said, only love, tolerance, and gratitude can everyone get together so peacefully.
The pandemic has once again confronted human beings with ethnic and cultural differences, but the pandemic will eventually end. What people really have to face is not the virus, but the peaceful coexistence with gratitude and tolerance.
No, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how much money you have or what you look like. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about the outside, it's the inside.
Lingsen is an entrepreneur in Taiwan whose business was impacted by the pandemic. But instead of putting his employee on furlough, Lingsen paid them in full salary to do community service. Let's take a look. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.